If you want to get better at push-ups, pull-ups, or skills, how can you make progress consistently and keep getting stronger? What if you're stuck at 10 pull-ups and simply doing more reps does not work? In this case, one of the variables you can change in your workout is the tempo. It seems like a minor detail, but I'm telling you, in some cases, it can get you out of your plateau. I'd say most people who've been training with their body weight for a while and haven't had much progress lately will benefit a lot from just changing tempo in some of their exercises. Now, what's a tempo? Tempo is the speed at which you perform each phase of a movement, usually expressed using a 4-digit code like this. Each number corresponds to a different phase of the movement. The first is the duration of the eccentric or lowering phase, or muscle lengthening to be precise. For example, going down in a push-up or a pull-up. The second is the duration of the pause at the bottom. The third is the duration of the concentric or lifting phase, or muscle shortening to be precise. For example, pushing up or going up in a pull-up. And the fourth is the duration of the pause at the top. What's important is that the first number is always the eccentric phase. That's why it can be confusing when you're doing pull-ups, since they start with the concentric phase. For instance, this is what tempo looks like for push-ups. Let's say it's 3-1-1-0, which means 3 seconds of going down, 1 second pause at the bottom, 1 second of going up, and 0 seconds at the top. And this is what it looks like for pull-ups. Let's say it's 3-1-2-0, which means 3 seconds of going down, but we start at the concentric phase, so it's actually 2 seconds of going up, 0 seconds at the top, now 3 seconds of going down, 1 second at the bottom, then repeat. Another notation could be letter X, which means explosive, so 10x0 will look like this. By the way, if you are serious about getting stronger and building your physique with calisthenics, check out the link in the description. Now, if you are just doing reps quickly, the standard tempo is 1010. Someone might say that a phase lasts quicker than 1 second, so what's going on there? When coaches write tempo like 1010, the digits are actually control units, not strict stopwatch seconds. The reason why we say seconds is because it's more simple than saying control count or time units, although it's not precise. But the point is that they're meant as a rhythm guide, not precise time measurement. So 1 second in tempo notation is roughly one controlled count, not necessarily a perfect 1 second on the clock. Okay, but why care about tempo at all? What's going to happen if I just change the pacing of the exercise? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to increase the time under tension. In other words, make the same set longer. There's a difference between fast rep like 1010 and slow rep like 3110. 10 pull-ups could be just 10 seconds of work if done fast, but they can be 30 seconds if done slow. That's 3x difference, without changing sets, reps, or load. Longer time under tension increases metabolic stress and mechanical tension, both key drivers for muscle growth. In order to gain muscle mass, aim for at least 40 to 60 second set. Of course, progressively overload first and increase the time slowly. And obviously don't just increase the resting phase, that is not how you increase time under tension. Usually it's the eccentric phase that needs to be slowed, or the pause at the bottom in push-ups, or the pause at the top in pull-ups. Here's the example of how you can do it. The second thing that's going to happen is that you're going to improve your form drastically and become more stable. This is especially helpful if you're currently trying to increase your max from around 8 to 15 rep range. If that is your current max in, let's say, pull-ups, then you're going to benefit from it a lot. Because if you are beyond 15 reps, for instance 20, then your mind-muscle connection is probably good already. Even then, all pro athletes also use tempo in their workouts. Also, you're going to be aware and actually feel the target muscles working. This deep focus builds neuromuscular coordination, which lets you recruit muscles more efficiently. The third thing that's going to happen is you're going to figure out and fix your weak points. If, for example, you tend to raise the head during pull-ups and not go high enough by the end of the set, this means you could work on that phase more, like adding a second at the top. That is why even training isometric hold separately can be very beneficial. Or perhaps you could strengthen your muscles at the bottom phase of the push-up or dip and activate the chest and shoulders better. Okay, but what if I want to train with weights instead? Isn't that just better than tempo? Well, weight training has one huge advantage. You can progressively overload simply by adding weight. That's the easiest, most direct way to build strength and muscle, no question. So if your goal is pure size or maximal strength and you have equipment, weights are often the most efficient way. But it's not like it's one or the other. And tempo offers benefits that weights alone don't. As I said, in the context of improving form, control, mind-muscle connection, even joint longevity, and health-wise, tempo is more useful. I'm not saying tempo replaces weights. The point is that if you're training with body weight, you absolutely must know about tempo and how to use it well. And guess what? If you're training in the gym, you would also benefit from using tempo. For example, if you're stuck in a plateau on a bench press, you might try different tactics and experiment with your pacing. It's a form of micro-progression without needing new weights or reps. Best athletes often blend the two. This doesn't mean that it must always be weights plus tempo. No, some exercises could be just weighted reps, like 1010. Some exercises could be bodyweight reps with tempo. Some are just max bodyweight reps, if that is your goal. That's why a full training plan is so important. And what's arguably even more important than that is having a vision of your goal, of something you want to achieve. Imagining this goal gives you the motivation to move forward, and by visualizing, you will start steering towards taking the right action. Now, if you want to get to this goal as fast as you can, check out the top link in the description. I offer one-on-one coaching and a training plan that will get you a solid foundation in calisthenics to help you achieve the most impressive skills and build a great physique along the way. You get a clear path and structure, and if you follow it and do the work, it's impossible to fail. The link is below. And keep training hard.